retelling the true story of the greatest drugs bust in history, Theatr and Aberystwyth Arts Centre's musical co-production, Operation Julie, is currently touring across Wales and into England in the next couple of weeks. The musical retells the events surrounding a West Wales mid-1970s police investigation, which resulted in dozens of arrests and the discovery of LSD worth £100 million. And this afternoon, I'm joined by the writer and two of the stars of the production.
Yeah, hi, my name's Geinor Styles and I'm the writer and director of Operation Julie.
So my name's Keiran Bailey. I'm an actor, a musician, and I play the role of Detective Sergeant Richard Parry with a wig, which you probably see in the show.
Yeah, I'm Caitlin Lavagna, also an actor musician, and I multi-role many parts in the show, some of which are Julie, Anne Parry, Mrs. Lake, Megan, and another one. I can never remember five.
You said Julie.
I said Julie. There's five.
It's the woman behind the bar who Phil always keeps changing your name.
It's Phil's fault. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's Phil's fault. Landlady. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it certainly keeps you on your toes, doesn't it, Caitlin? Because, I mean, obviously, I came to see the show last week, and I'm sure to goodness you met yourself going off the stage, coming back on again on several occasions as well, didn't you?
Me and Phil, we have so much fun. We're basically just running around naked backstage most of the time, trying to find the right wig. No, it is fun. It's good fun multi-rolling. And I think within that, I think Steve Balsamo came to see us last night, and he actually said, and Geinor Daniels, and they said, although they're like the smaller part, they kind of they're very believable still. They're not just there for comedy and stuff. They're real, you know, even though we are running on and off. It's not, the audience would never see the panic, obviously.
I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, and I want to bring this to you, Geinor, actually, because obviously as the writer of Operation Julie, there's a lot of reality. You've managed to sort of strike a balance of a familiar side of Wales to many people. Even, I mean, I grew up in the north of England in the 70s, but my visions of Wales are reflected in Operation Julie, seeing things like the Aberystwyth show and stuff like that. You're getting all those wonderful characterizations, the characterizations which Caitlin's capturing, and you know, even with Richie Parry, the police and stuff, there's almost like a bit of a friendly heartbeat police type thing going on there, where, you know, we're in community policing and all that sort of stuff, you know, stuff which wouldn't happen anymore. How did you start to strike that sort of balance, Geinor, when you were looking at the scripts?
I think when you meet the actual people, you sort of have a lot of respect for them. And I met a bloke called Ted. His name's Ted and Avion. It's like a weird Welsh thing going on. Anyway, and he was fantastic. I met him in a coffee shop in Carmarthen, and he was telling me all about what policing was like in the 70s in Wales, and they had 3 cop cars, all of Dyfed Powers Police. So I was like, this must have been incredible for going undercover. You've got all those telephone boxes. They had no mobiles, you know, radios were out. He said it was carnage, really. And I think trying to tap into that, what it must have been like doing undercover detective work in very rural, and that area is honestly, there's like about 10 different ways to get to Aberystwyth. Like you can go on any route, really. So it's the perfect place to have a drugs lab, I would imagine, because it's so remote and things. So it was meeting the real people and just looking at that. I also watched a lot of films, watched the one about the 70s cop thing.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. I watched that just to get a sense of that sort of misogyny and blatant sexism, really, I think, as well. So it's you know, just bringing all those threads together. But I think, you know, little things like, shandy bass for the boy, you know, it's those little drinks that I remember, you know, when we used to go, when my parents used to take us out for a run on a Sunday or whatever, you know, we weren't allowed into pubs then as kids, so we'd be in the car for a packet of crisps and a half a shandy or whatever. So it's little things like that that try and evoke those days of the 70s, really.
And you've also got like the protagonists, Richard Kemp and Christine Bott, are very much, there's like comparisons there to Tom and Barbara from The Good Life as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I loved how you sort of brought all that into it. I mean, looking at Operation Julie, because there's been a lot written about it over the years, hasn't there? There's been lots of books. I mean, I've noticed this week how many people who were involved with it. Where on earth did you start with the research? How on earth did you know what to keep in and what to throw out and stuff? It must have been a mammoth task.
Yeah, it was difficult because there are some, and everybody wants to tell their story. They want their story put across and things like that. So you just got to make decisions then. And I think the first protocol was Lynn Ebenezer, who wrote the Operation Julie book. I think he was actually the journalist that was covering the story about the Range Rover when the car accident happened. So he was already embroiled in it. He was living in, I think he was a newspaper reporter for the Cambrian News in Aberystwyth. So he's a font of all knowledge, and he put me in touch with people. And then it is like a drugs network, really. Once you meet one, they put you in touch with another one and then another one. So it was very much like that, you know. And there's a lot of coincidences in there. I was working with Lydia Parry, and she was saying to me, oh, what's your next show? And I said, I'm going to do Operation Julie. And she goes, my father was one of the detectives. And I said, who's that? And she said, oh, Richie Parry. Well, that was like, great. Okay, off to go there. So there's a lot of luck involved, but I think it is, like you're saying, making choices, you know, but who are you gonna follow? But it got difficult because Smiles is such a charismatic character. You just think, oh, just do it about him, like he's brilliant. But then you've got to strike a balance with the police and what they were trying to do as well. So the Richie Parry story and the police story, I loved all that. And Dick Lee being, you know, like, it was just fantastic that he had this thing about, I'm going to make my mark here, I'm going to change, I'm going to set up the National Drug Squad. He really wanted to do that, and that ego that comes with that was fantastic. But I think once Andy said to me, look, there's no Operation Julie without Kemp, then it's like, but Kemp is really, everything about Kemp and Christine Bott is all from newspaper reports and people who who did know them, but it's all, Christine Bott died in, I think, 2002, was it, I think? And we don't know where Kemp is, so I can't interview them. So that is all from court, reading in between the lines of court proceedings at the time and just seeing what sense of character came out of that, really.
There's a wonderful bit with Kemp in the production as well, when he almost gives this prophetic speech, which I believe is only printed in the Cambrian News. Is that a genuine piece, that?
Part of it is so he sent this thesis or his statement or whatever, 8,000 word, it's called a microdoctrine, I think he called it, to the Cambrian News, to Patrick O'Brien, who was a journalist. He sent that to him. Patrick O'Brien doesn't know where that is now. He says he doesn't know, he hasn't got it.
Wow.
And so Patrick O'Brien put in bits from that microdoctrine into the Cambrian News. I looked at that and I took elements of that and I've elaborated on certain bits of it as well.